Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Please give a warm welcome to our main speaker, Shamu.
Hi, I'm Mike Elrod, alcoholic, otherwise known as Shamu. Congratulations on the 30 days and 9 months. I don't go to meetings a lot where they have those, and when I see them, it's an opportunity to reflect, and it feels good. You know, I know where you're at. About going to meetings, you don't ever always want to go to meetings. I just celebrated 20 years, and tonight I'm going over the hill. I need to do this for myself. You know, I whine and complain too. I've been doing, getting up at 5 and going to bed at midnight for almost a week now because of my work and stuff. So tonight I was like, you know, the lip was out and I was pouting. But, you know, get out of yourself, just show up, and you're here, and I'm happy, man. There's people, I haven't seen these two people, Don and Fran, for 15 years probably, I don't think. It doesn't seem like, but they were there. They changed our lives, my wife and ours. And I was sitting here fine, listening to everybody until the last 12 steps or 12 traditions were read, and my stomach started flickering. You know, I hope I never lose that. I hope when I take a cake or when I get the chance to talk that I get that little buttery feeling and butterflies. I don't want to ever graduate from here. You know, it's an honor to be able to do this. I try to let God do the talking when I get up here, so I hope you can follow. There's no exact format. I tell you a little about how I got with my drinking and recovery. April 23rd is my belly button birthday, and the 24th is my AA birthday. I just celebrated 20 years. I came around in October of 80, though. I had, when I got to the last of my drinking, my morning routine was to get up, open one of the vials. I had a drawer just full of all this stuff. I was helping other people. I was distributing joy and helping them along their ways. But I opened this drawer and, you know, I put this stuff out there. I thought I was being really quiet. We had the bar we had out there. I was tired of opening bottles and seeing them deplete. My father-in-law had bought it's a 2-gallon vodka bottle. I guess you can get them in every kind of brand. Didn't know about any other brand, but vodka. My bottle, at the end, though, I don't know what it had in it, but the bottle said Smirnoff's, and it looked very impressive on the bar. I filled that with Vons, Thrifties, you know. I'm surprised that there wasn't growing in there, but I guess it really never had a chance to settle. You just kind of filling it up, you know, like a gas car, your gasoline tank. Just, I don't know where it goes, but it went gone. It had a 2-ounce plunger, 2 shots, right? So I go out in the morning, I fill my nose, then I go out there and I just went over and went, you know. So that's 4 shots, you know. Wow. Felt about right, you know. Just kind of worked everything down through my nose and everything. I got to the lumber yard, and this is amazing that I have everything left, fingers anyway. Behind the produce drawer in the refrigerator, I kept a 5th or a quart, whatever would fit behind there, I don't remember. But I did that. Went to the lumber yard, punched up the orange soda or orange juice that was in the machine, you know. That's about half the can, and I'd fill this thing up with the vodka, you know, and then I was ready to help my customers. That's where I got to. Also, the combination of all those things and the little pills and stuff that I was taking, it was like an old acid trip. I was afraid to get off curbs. I was hurting. A girlfriend that was living with us came home, and apparently things were a little bit too much that day, and she found me hiding behind the clothes in the closet. It seemed, I guess, to be a safe spot to be. Michael, and she was, yes. I don't remember any of this, but apparently I was answering, and it was like hide and go seek. When she found me, I was just like sitting there, like, yeah, so I'm in the closet, you know. They called a shrink. I went to see the shrink. They got me out of the house. Anyway, they pried me out of the closet. Went to see the shrink, and the SOB was not. I can't believe he didn't know that I was there. He made me wait an extra 15 minutes in the lobby. I called my wife and told her what I thought of that. He got me in the office, and within 5 minutes, I was bawling for the next half an hour. I don't know where that came from. I was just cry. At the end of that session, he said that he had the gall to think that I should go to a hospital program. And I had an answer for him. I left that place, and a week later, God stepped in again. I'm at the lumber yards. It's October, Santa Ana days, you know, the breeze, all this stuff's going on. My wife calls me about 9:30 in the morning. I've done my regular morning routine, and when she calls me, I'm a vodka drinker, she's Scotch. I know there's plenty of booze at the house, but she says one of the dogs died. So on the way home, I bought a bottle of vodka for her. She's a Scotch drinker at 9:30 in the morning. I know she's going to need a drink. I get there, and she did her first pre-Al-Anon thing. She didn't know she wasn't even doing it. I showed up, and she said, the dog's out there, you handle it. And she left. Now she didn't know she was doing Al-Anon, but that's what it was. I went outside out to the front. When I opened that garage door, I don't know where this came from, but to me it's a spiritual awakening. But I opened that garage door, and I knew everything was flashing in front of me as far as how much I drank, what I put up my nose that morning, how beautiful it was, the wind's blowing. I don't know, all this was just like passing in front of me. I looked down, and we had Afghans. One of the Afghans had died. Actually, it was the mama. And I took the dog to the vet, and within about a half an hour, the vet called and said the dog died from neglect. For the longest time, I thought I got here and nobody got hurt, but I think a dog or an animal counts as that. I found that bottle in the refrigerator, took it in the office, and just started pouring it down. Called my wife, and she, when I told her I was ready to go to the hospital, she drove from downtown LA, I think, in 5 minutes, you know. When we called our doctor 20 years ago, the doctor we were going to see had been out of medical school for like 5 years, and he had been seeing me for all this time and not diagnosed me as alcoholic. You know, I was just having bad problems, you know. I said I was going to go to the hospital. Well, apparently the only residency that he had was Van Nuys Psychiatric Hospital. That day, thank you, all the beds were full. But across the street is Valley Presbyterian Hospital, and they had an alcohol ward. Well, guess what? By me being my doctor, he took me over there. That allowed him to get into the hospital and have residency there by putting me in that alcohol ward. You know, I didn't know I was an alcoholic. He didn't know I was an alcoholic. He was going to put me in a nut ward, and they were full that day. So I got the AA because of that one bed. I don't know who that guy was, but thank God that bed was full. I go through that hospital. I think within the first week, I'm a loving and outgoing person. They made me the warden of the nuts. And I remember being humilified. You know, this crying I was doing was not for me. I was brought up with when I got smacked or directed that if I started crying, it was do you need something to cry about, you know, type of thing. And so to be in the hospital in front of all you sitting there and crying in a meeting was not cool. But I remember during that session, I said I was lying and cheating and getting older. And that was in October. And I came around to my belly button birthday that day, and I'm at the lumberyard, and I finished off everything I had. Actually, when I got out of the hospital, 30 days after I got out of the hospital, some guy in Santa Monica that I went through with the hospital wanted me to help save him. And I'm leaving at 11 o'clock at night from Sherman Oaks to drive to Marina Del Rey. And my 30-day wonder Al-Anon is saying, aren't you supposed to take somebody with you? I said, shut up, I got it myself. You know, all the way over there I knew I was doing something wrong, but the first thing we did was we went to his sister's house and scored something for our noses, and about 3 hours later we're at a liquor store trying to get something to drink for him, and he's trying to give me a beer, and I'm like, no, I'm an alcoholic. You know, all night long I'm just packing this, and I'm screaming at him because he's a friggin' alcoholic. Look at you, you pig, you're drinking, you know. And my nose is fine. The next 6 months I was going to meetings, taking chips, doing this whole thing, and I never drank the whole time. But when I left the lumberyard that morning to go take care of myself because it's my belly button birthday, I'm driving up the lumberyard, and all of a sudden I hear, you're lying, you're cheating, and getting older. Another little miracle, something happened, and that started this process. I went to meetings for 5 years, 7 nights a week. My disease has nothing to do with being non-social. I enjoy doing that. I'm being around people. My problem is in the home, and I am the second oldest of 6 kids. I think they made a movie. I joke about it. They made a movie about my dad. He was a Marine. It was called The Great Santini. And when we went any place, you know, we got in line. I remember going back east as a little kid, all of us in the car, and we're leaving this restaurant, and some waitress going, boy, your kids are really well behaved. And I'm thinking, you know, at 5 years, I'm thinking, you don't know, you know. We were also, what's on your plate, you finish, you order that, you eat it, you finish it. My mom did not get involved in any of the direction and correction. I grew up, I believe, I remember saying that I do not want to grow up to be like my dad. I'm not going to hit my kids, correct them, do that type of thing. I remember saying that. Most people I hear from these podiums say they want to grow up like their alcoholic parent. They don't want to drink like their mom or their dad and be that way. But mine wasn't. They didn't drink. He was just gave me helpful direction. We've since corrected all that and realized, I had seen in sobriety, I had seen my dad around his dad. My dad can be the biggest SOB like I am, but he got around his dad, he was like a little 3-year-old kid, you know. Yeah, what do you need? What do you need? So I can see where that came from. The tools I had to bring up my kids is what I was given. And my wife's dad had a lumber yard. They had the first color TV on the block. He'd come home from the lumber yard. All the kids would be at the house watching Mickey Mouse or whatever the hell was on TV at that time. And he'd say, who would want ice cream? And they'd all pile in the truck, and he'd drive off with all the kids, and they'd come back. My wife grew up with Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, and I had Jekyll and Hyde, you know. Corinne was a fashion designer. When we met, she was working for Catalina or Cherokee or something. I guess it was Catalina, and I was a high-rise window washer. You know, we weren't supposed to meet. I guess I should tell that story real quick. If you can keep track of all the little miracles that have been happening in my life here, they're not coincidences, little things that have happened, but my roommate, I met in Vietnam, and when I came back from Vietnam, I went to San Francisco to detox for a year, which was just, I got loaded, you know. Phil Moore, Janis Joplin, Led Zeppelin, I think I was there. I know I was trying to get out of what happened over there, but when the money ran out, I knew Dave was down in L.A., so I came to L.A., and his dad had our uncle had a janitorial window washing company, and we came home from work that night, or I was at home, I was already in bed. He's trying to get me to go out and find women, and I'm asleep. After about 3 joints and about 2 bottles of Matus, you know, that was the big drink back then. I said, okay, let's go, you know. We're living behind the Hollywood Bowl up on the hill there. We come down, and we're in a VW van making a left-hand turn off of Hollywood Boulevard onto La Brea. I'm in the turning lane. This brand new Cutlass pulls up next to me. Blonde, those round blue glasses, well-developed lady pulls up next to me, and I had just lit this brand new joint, right? The light's red. I passed the joint to the car next to me. Her girlfriend's all freaking out because Corinne had gone with this girl to break up again with her boyfriend that thought that she was not first lady quality. He was going to be president of the United States. He didn't have any booze or ice in his house, and there's a whole story. So Corinne's like, when she saw me, it was like, give me that thing, you know, I want something fun to happen. And I grew up, you don't bogart. Everybody, you pass it along, right? She was living in, you know, Brown Derby and everything else, and like, I don't like that, throw it away. And all I know is I passed this joint to her, the light turned green, and she left. I forgot about the blonde, everything she had. It was, get that car! She took the joint, you know? And I was like, ah! And I remember pulling up behind him and Dave saying, what do we do now? What do we do now? And I said, I don't know. She took the joint. I'm going after her. We just celebrated 30 years of marriage. I think I got a date with her a week later, and we were engaged 2 weeks later and married within that year. But another little miracle. But in fact, when I asked her, she made me go in the front room. We're painting her mom and dad's house, and she asked me to go out to ask her dad for her hand in marriage. And I remember asking Elvin about that, and he says, "Yeah, so what else is new? You know, big deal. That's good. That's fine." I was welcomed in, but Corinne and I fought for years. I go to these meetings. I come see you guys. I smile. I'm shaking hands. I'm not telling you about the yelling and screaming that's going on in my house. All I know is when I go home, my kids today, my oldest son, I remember one time we went to Santa Paula to get pumpkins, and we're leaving there. I think I had a couple years of sobriety at that time. Our oldest, Michael was almost 5 years old when I got to the program, so he would be like 7 or 8. And our youngest son, Toscan, I think had a couple years. He was in the car seat in the back from this little Mazda 323. 3 adults, 2 kids, car seat. Good quiet, good close. A whole day having fun, getting pumpkins with his family. New sobriety. Fun. You don't know about feelings yet. We're not supposed to have these feelings yet. And I started screaming when we were leaving Santa Paula about something. And my youngest one started laughing. And I realized what was going on. I started laughing. And when I looked in the rear mirror, and looked in the back seat, I saw Michael, and he had the straightest face. And I said, Michael, you're not laughing. He says, I remember the way you were. You know, when you come home at night, the yelling and screaming that goes on, you can close those doors, but they can still hear you in those other rooms. All that yelling and screaming that's going on, the walls do not close that off. And we have heard both of our kids share from the podium in recovery, and you know, life happens. Every time I raised my hand to do something, my kids would jump or flinch, and that's what I grew up with. And I said I didn't want to do that, and I kept on doing that. Krim was doing good Al-Anon. She was going to meetings, and she was telling what was going on in her house all the time, and people there told her that she would know, and she knows. And in my 6th year, my sponsor in August of that year, wait a minute. I was almost 6 years old, and in February, the sponsor I had at that time, 21 years went out. And from February to August, I sponsored myself. Not knowing that, I assumed that the guy that had 21 years was still my sponsor, but duh, you know, he's newly sober. By August, I used to have the men's stag come to my house, and all my wife used to complain about was that when I didn't know I was doing this, but I guess when I'd pull up in front of a liquor store or a market or something, and I needed cigarettes, I'd go and get something for me and nothing for anybody else. And she always ragged about that. I can get drunk or get pissed or mad just because something does not go right. My MO for my alcoholism is that I have planned this day, how this day is supposed to happen. If you you screw it up, it blows the whole damn day. I can have the nicest day in the world, but somebody cuts me off. That screws up my whole day. I had planned this whole thing. You know, the way to buy your kids something is you walk in the store and say, what do you want? And you allow them to have it. But this is my sickness. I knew there's a Wonder Bread store on Roscoe and the 405. It's Deo stuff. You go in there, you buy 10 dozen donuts, 10 dozen cookies, and they give you free Hostess cupcakes or those things, right? So this is stupid. Following this, how stupid this is, I have planned all day long that I know if I go in there and buy all these cookies now, and then I'm going to walk up to my kids and go, what do you want? You can have whatever you want. And I'm concentrating, I'm at the wall, the peanut butter cookies, no, I got to get some of those cookies. I'm doing this whole oatmeal thing, I've got this whole thing planned out. All of a sudden my kids walk up and go, look what Mom got us. And I said, put that shit back! I just started screaming, and then she, with 6 years of Al-Anon, came flying by on her broomstick. I was down on the ground with the artillery, and she's flying. She's screaming at me, I'm screaming at her. The kids are standing there with their cupcakes. The lady at the register is now taking position. You know, she's getting lower and lower. And it's over because the day was screwed up because I had planned how it's supposed to happen. We went home that day, all the way home, and she says it from the podium. I'm not bragging on her. We both were just like, and we got home, and she kept it up. And you know when you know, I put my hand on her chest and shoved her across the room until she hit the wall. This is my 6th year of sobriety, going to all the meetings, doing all the right things in these rooms, but not taking it home. I did not know how to live there, and I was afraid to do it. All I knew was direction and correction. She left for about a week. We got back together. My ex-sponsor, Betty Ann and Bob, showed up. The 3 of us all sat down. I think the funniest thing is that they told us to come with a list of things that our spouse was a problem with, right? And I showed up with this like little 3x5 card, and Corinne had this portfolio. The Al-Anon had it down, what the alcoholic been doing all this time. We were in there for a 3-hour stint. This is something stupid and simple that got us back to this program. But after this 3-hour thing, our direction was for us to pray each night together on our knees and hold each other's hand and do our prayers together. That's been 14 years ago. We don't hold hands, but we do say our prayers still tonight, or still every night together, as much as possible if we're not on trips or something. But I used to get myself hit, spanked, and I spanked and hit my kids, or got pissed and yelled at my wife for simple little things like when I'm talking to you and you go, you roll your eyes around, or you sigh, or don't look at me like, what is this SOB? No, that attitude, I rip your chest out, go down your throat and rip your heart out, only because that's what I was brought up with, If I didn't look at my dad when he was talking to me and I looked away like, right, I got whang. So when they were doing that, it would completely annoy me. So what our sponsors did that day when they left, was that they told us to write down 3 things that we disliked about the other person and wanted to see them change. We were to go into the bedroom or wherever, sit with our backs to each other and read these things off. All right? I cannot see her face. She cannot see my face. She can't see what I'm doing. I can't see what she's doing. She read those 3 things off, and I read those 3 things off. We could not see each other's face. And the other thing was that we could not talk about them for a week. Guess what? In a week, I forgot what it was all about. At the moment, I remember being in the hospital with the shrink, and when he was interviewing and talking to us, we sat there, and he said, he asked me to share. And I was telling my story before I get finished, which was her MO, my MO, whatever, is I remember picking apart. I heard certain words that she said or things that I did, and I had a story and a rebuttal going. I knew damn well I didn't do that. And I was going to punch those lines right back in her face. And this is what happens, he asked me to speak first. I was telling what's going on before I could get finished. She's interrupting. She's telling me, I didn't do that, da, 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 da. And this big guy is saying, shh, and I'm going, right on, yeah, let her have it. I was just loving how he was correcting her. Next minute, it's my turn to talk, or her turn to talk. And she starts talking, and I'm boom, 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 boom. I got my finger in her face, I'm telling her what's going on, and the guy shuts me up too, because we never listened to each other. We were together. We were married 10 years. We got from that street corner, we were exactly 10 years of partying. We didn't know each other. We had 10 years of marriage when we got to this program. 10 years of drunkenness, whatever, fun. 10 years of fun, and now we had 6 years of marriage. So this is 16 years we're together at this time when this all happened, when I slammed her against the wall. Quinn says that's our second marriage. Or our third marriage. We started over then. Our kids were also affected by this, even though they're behind closed doors. we suggested to our oldest one that he needs to go to Alateen, whether he liked it or not. We sent him off to Alateen. Apparently, years later, he told us he liked it from the very first night. But after he did 30 days, he said, I don't want to go anymore, and we told him he needed to go until he liked it. Valley Presbyterian had AA, Al-Anon, and Alateen, and preteen. Or a little guy, which I think I shared this earlier, he went to preteen and was in there maybe 6 months to a year at the very most, and came home one night at 7 years old and telling us, these kids talk about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They talk about their dogs and their cats. Get me out of this thing. I want to go to Alateen. There's big kids there, not these little kids over here. You know, Toscan has 2 years of sobriety now. My young alcoholic, but he, I guess my oldest son went to the Alateens, and they took a vote and they bumped him, this 5-year-old or a 6-year-old kid, up to Alateen. He got into the big kids thing. My oldest son just celebrated 16 years of program between Alateen, or preteen, Alateen, and Al-Anon. He's got 16 years in the program. One thing this program does not, by sending your kids to any one of these programs, it doesn't guarantee that they're going to be saved. You know, like I said, Toscan my youngest son just celebrated, or just turned 19 last November, and we found out that he was using since he was 12. Under my nose, in front of my face, I didn't even know it. I didn't even see what was going on. Duh. I mean, I should have, if anybody should have seen that. A few nights I knew he was partying because he wasn't able to talk back. You know, that's about all he was saying. He left the room and I said, Corinne, he's messed up. These two guys today, you know, I have missed the whole thing about the 4th of July in Vietnam. I went to see a lot of stuff happened over there that I guess between what my dad what my dad did to me or helped me along, I was always trying to find a way to escape him and the situation. I always thought I was dumb. I was told I was dumb. I was stupid, whatever, which you hear that enough times. That's just what happens to you. So I found ways to escape. Probably when I started when I was 14 years old, I found a way to escape in between drugs and alcohol. When I got to Vietnam, there was something there I didn't like. Things that were happening there. I found even better stuff to escape reality. When I got out and came back, then it was recovery time. And you need more to hide all the stuff you've been hiding, stuffing and hiding from back then, are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I did not know how to recover from those things. My kids, I guess in '88, I got sober in '81. In '88, I got a chance to go back to Washington, D.C. with about 10 other guys to see the wall on the 4th of July weekend. And I remember walking across this lawn at 5 o'clock in the morning, and somebody saying, where's the wall? And the guy said, well, I heard a little sneak up on you. And that was like 7-8 years in the program. So about 2 years later or a year later, now I have 9 years in the program. My kids have seen me for 9 years now change. And my two boys and I are sitting on the couch, and we're watching a movie that Bruce Willis did. And he was raising a little girl. This little girl's dad died in Vietnam, and when the girl got older, she finally talked Bruce into going back to see the wall. And they're walking across the lawn, and this little girl goes, where's the wall? And he says, it'll sneak up on you, I hear. And I start bawling, you know. AA A.A. Al-Anon my life has allowed me to be, I believe, a complete man, where I am able to show my emotions and not stuff them. I'm able to hug people today and cry. I don't think I'm any less of a person by doing that today. I guess before I didn't. I was told it was not right. So I was still embarrassed to sit there and cry in front of my kids. I was mortified that I was crying about this, but yet it was tearing my heart apart what had happened there, and to see this movie. And right about that time, both my kids hugged me and said, "Dad, it would be okay." You know, snot, yeah, no dignity, everything's coming out everywhere. My boys today, when I say, "Hey, come here," they don't jump. My oldest one has given us, we have a 2-year-old granddaughter. I can be the biggest SOB in the world. When that little girl shows up, they tell me that my face changes from asshole to Santa Claus, you know. My oldest son wants to hug and kiss me when he leaves, tells me he loves me, and so does my youngest one. A girlfriend of ours that Jennifer, my wife, knew for 40 some odd years. We always went to the San Fernando Convention. We always went and stayed at the hotel, and once again, God took care of this. We could not afford to stay at the hotel that Saturday night after the banquet, and we went home. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call from Corinne's girlfriend, and I can't think of the movie. She had just seen, had been watching this movie and wanted to get sober. I told her she was serious about it, to show up at my house at 7 o'clock in the morning. I said, "Well, I'm going to a meeting." I didn't tell her it was a closing meeting at San Fernando. What is that, 1,000, 1,200 people, right? We're going to a meeting, be here. I take her to the closing meeting Sunday morning at San Fernando, and she took the book. She was sober 3 years in the program and found out she had breast cancer, and she died 2 years after that. We ended up with a daughter. Whitney is now 19 years old, so we have a complete household now with a 19-year-old girl, 19-year-old son, a son with a 2-year-old granddaughter. I mean, we are a family. I am so happy and so proud of the chance of recovery and to be here today. You know, I guess I am tired. You got 10 minutes left, and I hope you enjoy your evening. Thank you.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.